Hi everybody. Camera's placed a little precariously on a rock here. See where I am? We're a little bit on location today. It is August 6th, 2025, and I don't know why I have my sunglasses because it's cloudy, but another midweek chat. I am in Blackhawk country. I'm in Bloomer. There's a nice lake up there, but I couldn't find a good spot to put my camera, but this is pretty. I can give you a little, I don't know if this is, it must be a lake of some name, and then it goes down into a little river, and I don't know if it joins the Chippewa River or what, but I am here, kind of a sad day. I'm here for a funeral, as St. Paul says, and it's St. Paul Parish in Bloomer. As St. Paul says, as Christians we grieve, but not as those without hope. So it's still sad. A good friend of mine from Stout days. He was a student when I was campus ministry at Stout. Jeremy, his father died, Ron Wolliver, and so I was delighted that I could come. I had the afternoon free today, so I could come up to Bloomer. It's about a half-hour drive from Eau Claire, so. We do the chat from here today before the reception starts. Father Victor did a lovely job presiding at the funeral, and I just could celebrate it. But it's sad. He's such a good guy. You can just see in his, you can see his presence going on through the generations. There's a line in the final commendation prayer. We give you thanks for the many blessings in Ron's life. They are signs to us of your goodness and of our fellowship with the saints in Christ. And as Father was saying that prayer, I just, the many blessings in his life, and I just, what are the blessings in our lives? Well, it was obvious to me in that moment that it was everybody in the front row there. So his wife of many years, and his two children, their spouses, and his grandchildren, the great blessings. And he loved them, and they loved him back. That's what makes for a good life. They chose I think a well-chosen first reading. It was the souls of the just are in the hand of God. And Ron was a just man, a good man. What is it to be a good person, right? So we like to think that I'm a good person. You hear that a lot from people. It's just a little bit crooked here. I'm going to try to, without... Oh, I had it, and then what is it like to be a good person? I'm going to try to get this. Father Sevs used to joke around. He'd say, yeah, they say I'm a good person. I think all they mean is that they never killed anyone yet. That it can be sort of meaningless, just sort of a generic thing. But what is it to be good? I had a few ideas. Good. To be good is to be honest. I think to be good human being is to know that I'm part of something. I'm not the middle of the thing. I'm part of humanity. I'm part of a family. I'm part of a church. And to be okay with that, to be a life-giving part of that, knowing you're not the center of things. And a good day, what makes a day good isn't based on whether it was good to you or not. You're not the standard of all things. There's a humility, I guess, that comes with that. Maybe because I'm a pretty self-centered person, I admire that when I see it in others, and I think this Ron was a great example of that. Someone that comes to a family gathering or some event for their kids and enjoys being there and is comfortable in his own skin. It doesn't have to be like one stimulating moment after the next. In fact, I saw Stacy here. Stacy and Steph, they were with Jeremy and at UW Stout when I was there. And I think of her as a good person. I remember I think of her so often when we have the Gospel of the Visitation, Because I remember asking, I said, what are you guys going to do for spring break? And she goes, well, a lot of people were like, well, we're going to go to Florida or we're going to go to Tennessee or something. And these two, they said, oh, we're going to go to Bloomer. And sorry about this camera, it's just a little hard on the run. We're going to go to Bloomer, and then Stacy says, oh, what are you going to do? What's fun to do in Bloomer, you know? And well, I'll go over to the neighbors, go over to my aunt's house. Oh, what are you going to do there, you know? He goes, and she looks at me like I'm crazy, like, well, I guess we'll visit, you know? And yeah, so to me, that's a basic goodness there, that you like connecting with people. It doesn't have to be thrilling, but just the goodness of being with other people that you know and love. I think there's a goodness there. And the other thing I thought was, I think he received love so well. So I don't know if that makes you a good person, because some people it's just hard to receive love, but there's a base, it makes for a good life maybe. You know, simple pleasures, seeing your grandkids, getting a nice birthday card from your wife, Valentine's card, just getting a compliment from somebody, to be able to receive that love and really kind of take delight in that and enjoy that and have that bring you joy. So those are the things I was thinking about during the funeral mass. You know, what really makes for a good life? What makes a man good? A woman, of course, as well. Those are some things. Faith, you know, that's not to say that people without faith aren't good, but there's a basic foundation to our lives if we're people of faith and know where we came from and where we're going. I think it puts this life in a certain perspective. And we know that we're ultimately, even though we maybe want to be leaders in some ways, we're ultimately followers in trying to do good by God and let Him lead us, you know. So anyway, there's some thoughts I had during today's funeral mass at St. Paul's. How about some Parish news? Cheese curds, you love them, I love them. You want them? Well, we're gonna have some probably for sure for half the time. We could use more cheese curd makers. We bought all the cheese curds and got the batter ready and the oil ready, and we just don't have people to make them yet. We have one shift filled, but from 11 till 1, we could use people to help make some cheese curds. It's a big seller, so it's a good money maker for the parish. So that's one thing you could do if you're looking, if you get this in time. Summerfest is why I'm saying Summerfest has come out this weekend, and it depends so much on volunteers. I don't mean to harp on it, you know, to make it unpleasant, but I think we had a good weekend of sign-ups. It's gonna be a great week. Lorraine and Mickey and Christine kind of overseeing everything. Kids games, they might not be able to have all the kids games that they want if there are not more people to sign up. And they're looking, I'm trying to think of the game from 1 o'clock till 3 o'clock on Sunday. Could use some workers to kind of be stationed at the kids games. I don't think it's as fancy as pick a duck. I loved pick a duck when I was a kid, with that little water going by and you pick a duck and there's a number on it, you get a prize. So we don't have that little stream of happiness with rubber ducks on it. But I think there is like a fish for a duck, like they give you a fishing pole and then you whip the line over the plywood board, and there's either a fairy down there or an angel or maybe one of our volunteers puts a prize on the end of the fishing line, and then they pull it up and there's a prize on it. That's cool. So you could do that. Then garbage haulers. There's a glory job. You know, you want to wash people's feet and be a servant. You need some people to monitor the garbage. That might be a good job for me, just to keep the recycling moving and keep the non-recycling things, take it over to the dumpster and things. So it sounds like fun, huh? I'm talking about Summerfest. I'm talking about all the work we have to do. But I hope you come. There's going to be live music. So again, Saturday, it's outdoor mass. We're hoping the clouds don't open, to rain on us at that time. We love rain, but maybe not during our outdoor mass time. So the 4:30 mass will be outside. Unless there's a big storm, then it'll be inside. But hopefully it'll be outside. It's always a nice mass. And that'll be followed by a wonderful dinner: macaroni and cheese, pulled turkey, pulled pork, beans, chips, Good stuff. It'll be a really nice meal, and I'm going to play guitar for about an hour and a quarter. So I'm working. I got the guitar out. I think I need to restring it, but I hate to restring a guitar too close to a performance because it goes out of tune so fast. But we'll see. I might have to pause and tune it a lot. But working on some songs. I think I'm going to do "You Got a Friend," Carole King song that James Taylor helped make famous. It's not so hard to play. Might play that. Might be a new song. Others, some old favorites, "One of Us" and "Mr. Tambourine Man," those sort of things. So I'm getting ready for all that. Some John Prine songs. And then Sunday's the big day. We'll have some people shucking corn and getting ready for the big chicken dinner. That'll take place from like 11 till 2. Yeah, I don't know that hours exactly, but after Mass and the midday, might be over at 1. So if you're smart, don't show up at 1:45. Car show will start up Sunday morning. I've been failing to mention the car show, which I apologize for. A lot of work goes into that. It's a lot of fun. It'll play a lot of 50s music as people have their vintage cars and sit in their lounge chairs near their cars. You can talk to them about their cars or just walk around and cast your vote for the People's Choice Award, that coveted car show award. So that'll be happening most of the day. Then we'll have live music with Jim Olling's band, Moonshine. Really good pop music. I don't know, I'd say, I guess from the 70s. Wow. Oh, somebody's got a muffler issue. There's some ducks over there. And then a big tent and a beer tent, and you can dance to the band, and some bingo going on. Michael's going to call bingo games. And I'm probably missing some stuff, but it's just a nice festive atmosphere. So it'll be great. Come along, buy a few tickets, take a chance on a game of chance just for the fun of it. Then we'll have our raffle drawing, I believe, at 3. So I got to get my raffle tickets yet. So I don't know how we're doing on. There's 200 for sale for the $100 tickets, and the rest there's unlimited for $5 a ticket. Okay, so that's good. Real good. So happy Summerfest weekend. And before then, it's going to be quite busy the next few days. We have Matthew Durbin. His funeral will be on Thursday. He's been living in Kentucky, and but he grew up here. Sharon and Steve's son, Melissa, has worshipped with us for years. His sister, and he's got another big sister, and so we'll gather tomorrow to commend his soul to God and remember him. He has a 24-year-old and an 18-year-old son. So died young and died suddenly. That's always very hard to grieve that. So we hope to bring resurrection hope to that. And I know a lot of faithful people will be coming, and that will help them in their grief. What the family was basically saying about him, the thing they most admired was just he really learned from some hard times, had a lot of trouble, made some bad choices as a youngster, like who doesn't? But had great compassion because he kind of came through that. And when he sees younger people struggling now, he's able to really help them come along. So really, it sounded like a beautiful life. Ended too young at 47. We say that, and I believe it. And I guess maybe in a moment of faith, say, well, everything's in God's time. And the next day, a good old long life. I don't know how old Tom was, maybe mid-80s, I'm not sure. But Tom Crampshore and he and his wife Rose have been a lovely part of our parish for the last couple years. They moved over from Wausau to be near their family. And he's just very much in love with his wife all his life. And a good family man and good person. So good person. All those things I said above about what makes a person good, I think would ring true for Thomas as well. So, and then Summerfest begins. And then after the funerals, in between Summerfest, there's, what do they call it again? Still the Answer. So we'll see how the weather is for that. They plan a Eucharistic procession downtown. And then in the Pablo Center, Performing Arts Center, Mass at 11 o'clock. I'll be there to celebrate. I'll be there to help with confessions from 1 till 2. A lot of speakers. It's kind of, I don't know if tickets are still available or not. I think it's mainly by ticket only. But that'll be a big event in Eau Claire if you happen to see. Maybe you'll come upon a Eucharistic procession on the Chippewa River be like, what's that? That's neat. But that's what's happening. Bishop Battersby will be here, of course, for that. Gaza, so that's awful. It continues. It sounds like they want to protract the war, and I don't know why. What's to be gained? I know extremists on both sides have their things to gain, but yeah, it's always the innocent people, the majority, that just want to live in peace with each other, that suffer. And so every day, you know, it seems like 50 to 100 people are killed, either by starvation now or by being shot. And we are going to send, you know, eventually the money will help. Right now, I think food is even hard to buy, you know. But I have sent to Sister Julia, Visitation Sisters, $9,050. So that's a lot. And she has a neighbor who's a member of the Missionaries of Charity, Mother Teresa's group, and she will get the funds to them, and then they will take it to Gaza and help in the rebuilding efforts or just sustaining life efforts there. The Missionaries of Charity live right there at Holy Family Parish compound, which has been an oasis, though vulnerable to attack, as we heard 3 weeks ago as well. But thanks for your generosity for that. I can always wire money to her account, but this was just kind of a nice time because of the extremity of what's happening there right now. But I'm always happy to take a donation for relief in the war there, and the West Bank too. Sister Julia does ministry to medical. She's a nurse. Does a lot of medical help to people that don't have help. Palestinians in Bethlehem, and the Bedouins who live in Bethlehem and around Bethlehem, all of whom live under a lot of threat. And because of the situation, what else was I going to say about that? So anyway, that's real good. Other parish news of religious education. Beth and Kelly, our director, making some changes this year. They want to see if maybe it would help families if they had religious education on Sunday mornings in addition to what they do on Wednesday, so people have their choice. And she said so far families are choosing 60% to stick with Wednesday, and 40% are choosing the Sunday morning option. Sunday morning option would be people gather at 8:45 for starting of class, and they're done at 9:55, so they can stay for 10 o'clock Mass. So I just admire them so much. They're excellent directors of religious education. They are creative. They want to do what is best for families and makes it most convenient for families to involve their children in religious education with all the different demands of family. And so they've kind of bent over backwards to accommodate families, and so we hope that families have that basic priority in their lives, that they want to see their children grow up in the church and with the faith. And so it's kind of our desires meet in the middle somewhere, right? And good things happen. Brewers are doing good. Wow. Maybe they'll sweep the Braves tonight. That'd be great. They lost that one game to the Cubs. Otherwise, have they won? They've been winning a lot. I think they lost twice since the All-Star break. So I watched mainly the highlights at night. Sometimes I kick over to Flint's house. Audrey and Mike are often there, and watched a little of the game last night there. But it's fun. It's fun when your team wins, isn't it? You get a little used to it, and then it's frustrating when they lose. But good to keep in mind that all those things are fleeting, and to stay grounded in the good things of God, ultimately that satisfy us. But there's a lot of fun and thrills along the way, as long as they don't become too central to our sense of what's important in life, right? So right now, the Brewers are a lot of fun for me. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, this camera's just hanging on by a thread. I got the vice grip. It's over the power button, so I was wondering why it looked funny. I don't know if it looks funny on your screen or not. On the upper part of the screen, there's a little indentation. That's not a branch or anything. Anyway. Pope Leo, he said, let justice replace a false sense of security based on mutual destruction. Today is, I don't know if it's called World Peace Day or not, but it's in 1945 on August 6th. The first atomic bomb intentionally released to cause damage in the world happened. People still debated endlessly if that was a moral decision or not. It may have prevented a lot of loss of lives, ended the war early. But it's still, regardless, it's just something to grieve, I think. the loss of life and war, and the tragedy of being in a place where such choices have to be made when it seems like there's no good choice. So, but he echoed Saint Pope Paul VI in what he said today. Pope Paul VI was famous for saying, at least that's what got on the bumper stickers that abbreviated his words, if you want peace, work for justice. If you really want peace, then make it so that people are not oppressed and are not looking to get back at their oppressors. And so that's smart advice. And Pope Leo was saying we're lulled into this false sense that things are peaceful because there's maybe not a war going on, but things are brewing underneath when people are not being treated fairly, and there can be a lot of unhappiness, and that can come out in war or all kinds of destructive ways. But the only true peace is when there's fairness and justice between people, and that's the recipe for long-term peace. Not that we all have enough weapons to kill each other, so we're not going to attack each other. You know? So yeah, I mean, you can see that. That's why the Middle Eastern wars are so. It's not if they would have a ceasefire, it's still just a really tough situation. I read more today, illegal settlements, people just confiscating land in the West Bank and displacing others. Well, the ones who are displaced right now, they don't have the guns, so they can't, fight back. But man, just a lot of hatred is just being fed. It's like this Gaza stuff. I mean, if you're from God, just think of all the hatred and the hostility in their hearts when the people just see their whole land just flattened. And it's not the way to a long peace. If you want peace, work for justice. It really is important. Anyway, Pope Francis or Pope Leo is really stressing that today at his prayer. 8 a.m. in Hiroshima today, they observed silence as they do because that was the time the bomb went off. You can imagine the sobriety of that moment. I guess people from 120 countries showed up there. So Leo said, we shouldn't have this false sense of security based on a threat of mutual destruction, but replace that with justice, open dialogue, and trust and fraternity. Just think of like family life. If you're always getting a smaller piece, or maybe you're a blended family, one side of the family feels that they don't get any, they're never treated fairly, or they don't get the privileges that others do. It just steeps resentment that comes out in bad ways, It is also the Feast of the Transfiguration. So we had that reading at Mass today. Jesus goes up on the mountain on his way to Jerusalem. He's preparing him and his disciples, Peter, James, and John, for the Passion to come. And he wants to give them a little foretaste of glory. So he's transfigured. It's almost like the risen Christ talking to Moses and Elijah. And these three apostles witness that. And it's supposed to bring them hope and courage when going gets tough. Does it? Not really, because when Jesus is arrested, Peter denies him, and it's all chaos. But he remembers later, and things all would kind of come together in the end for them, and we hope for us as well. I've been up the Mount of Transfiguration a few times. I have three main memories there. One, I mentioned at Mass today. There was a group, I think, from Poland, Eastern Europe, and it was a family of four, and the teenage girl, maybe like a young teen, maybe like 12, 13, 14 tops, had really short shorts. And they got in the church kind of just before I was going to get in there with my two friends. This was not a pilgrimage group. It was just me and two others. And the Franciscan in charge, sometimes they're mellow and accommodating, and sometimes they're pretty strict. And this guy was a strict guy. He didn't like how short the shorts were on that girl. And he got really mad, and he yelled at him, and he sent him out. And then he took the cord and over the front of church and put it over so nobody else could get in either. And I knew it was like a French-speaking place. So I said, s'il vous plaît, je veux prière maintenant, seulement prière. I just want to pray. And no. And couldn't get in. And I thought, well, it's too bad. You know, I understand the modesty thing, and you know, you give your life to taking care of a shrine, and then people walk in and are distracted by the amount of skin the teenagers showing. And I don't know what you do. It's something to address, but like in the mosque, like in Al-Aqsa Mosque, or even at Capernaum Christian sites, they'll have like skirts on hand you can just wrap around. You know, I think that's the solution, and it costs a little bit of money. Sometimes we have to spend a little money to exercise Christian virtue, right? And so if those were on hand, he could have just said, you know, I'm sorry, we don't allow short shorts like that in here. Or he could have just pointed if language was a barrier and then handed her the skirt. Then if she's not humble enough to take that, then I guess she should leave the church. But anyway, it's too bad, because a lot of people like myself didn't get to go in the church that day. So how do we work out? We have the ideal, the way we want things to be, and then the way things are. We try to be accommodating as we can without sacrificing the whole game, right? Got to be creative sometimes to be Christian, I think. Another time I went up, last time we went up and it was raining, and my first thought was, oh no, it's raining, we're all wet. And this was just the one 2.5 years ago. And but then we got to proclaim the gospel story, and then a cloud descended over. We were literally in a cloud on the Mount of Transfiguration. That's pretty cool, because that's in the story. They get up on the mountain, Elijah and Moses appear with Jesus, and then the cloud comes over them, and from the cloud a voice that says, behold my beloved son, with whom I'm well pleased, listen to him. You know, and so from that cloud we dare to try to listen to what God would have to say to us 2,000 years later, right? I can't wait till 2023. It's the 2000th anniversary of the death and resurrection of Jesus. That'll be, I want to make that big wherever I am, and I hope the church does too. And then my third memory was, I was sick. We came in that was a trip that included Egypt, and I was sick to my stomach, and I was always nauseous and thrown up a little bit earlier in the day. Sorry to be so graphic, and then we get to the Mount of Transfiguration. You'll get halfway, it's a steep mountain, you take these shuttle buses, and they're going like this, up all these switchbacks, and Father Kunz was the principal celebrant, and I just said, just so you know, I'm not going to receive communion because I'm not sick to my stomach. And he was like insisting, you got to receive it, you know, because he, you know, like I do, you know, he knows that Eucharist is good for you, but I just did not want to vomit when I had just received Jesus. So that's you ever saw Angela's Ashes, that's part of that story. The kid goes to confession because he was sick after Mass, and he told the priest, I think the priest was pretty nasty to him. You vomited Jesus, how dare you? So I didn't want to do that, and I think I did ultimately refuse. I just kind of held my ground. I was glad, because before we descended, I did in fact, but Jesus was not in it. So that, I'm sure he would have understood, but still, it's good to avoid that if you can. So on that happy note, let us pray. Loving God, this day in Bloomer, I'm at a funeral. We have some funerals coming up at St. James. We pray for those who have died. We pray for those who grieve the loss of really good people in their lives who've loved them. We ask you to help us live lives ourselves so that people feel loved by us. And then when that day of our funeral comes, we'll be grieved, we'll be missed. And help us count the many, many blessings that you give us in our lives. And to be grateful. To be good. Amen. There's a little shot of Bloomer there. Bloomer, it's pretty, right? That might have been a better angle, but I didn't have the rocks. But that's pretty cool too, that little waterfall on the dam. So God bless you. Peace be with you. Bye-bye.